Okay, now we're getting closer. Today I will be talking with Mark Parker, not Mark Parker, Mark S. about meditation. So let me contact Mark right now in StreamYard. There it is. There it is. Okay. StreamYard. And I'm going to invite, see who else I can invite. Here we go. Tunji. I'm going to try to get Tunji. Where are you? Sorry about this, folks. Boom. There's Tunji. Now, Mark S. Ladies and gentlemen, you're seeing the technical wizardry being played out live time. And if I can just, oh, there you are. Show chat, Mark S. Where are you at? Chat button. Direct messages, Mark S. There we go. Mark S. Boom. Paste again. All right. There you go. Now, back to. Oh, there he is. Ladies and gentlemen, Mark.
So
Oh, dude.
you did it. We're live,
Oh, my God.
and we're gonna have no viewers because Luke Thompson's streaming right now. But
Oh,
we'll,
is he?
yeah.
Good.
So
You
we'll
know,
try to compete with him, blow him out of
you
the
know what I
water.
should do is I should go get Luke's stream and post it in here, like just play his stuff. But
Yeah,
anyhow,
you get some quite a bit of viewers that way. You know?
well,
You should,
oh,
and you
just to
should
mess
just
with him.
you could change your avatar to his and just pretend like you're him. And just whenever he's streaming, just repost
Nice.
it.
Okay, I like that. A little bit of chaos. Oh, so
Yeah, and
is
I never get to watch his streams either because he always streams when I like in my busy times of work. But you know,
right?
so maybe it's meant to be.
Yeah,
Maybe God doesn't want me to hear universalist propaganda.
Is Luke universalist?
I'm just kidding. I don't even want to get into that at all. I have no I sh-
Oh,
I just prayed that I wouldn't run my mouth and I already am.
oh no, no. Actually, at Saturday morning, that's obligatory. Running your mouth because
Right.
there's no hate here. There's
No, no, no.
so like Luke. I want to. I almost want to dip in, but I'll leave him alone.
Ah, extremely friendly guy.
Oh yeah. Have
Interesting
you
person
talked?
too. So
Have you talked with him much?
not that much. Just, on stream every now and then.
Right.
You know, not too much. Um,
Same here. He's next level in some of his brain work, so I let him be.
yeah.
I'll go place in the
Like
other
he's
part.
it seems like he's got his subjects that he really goes deep into, and it's not quite the same that I do. So I feel like
Right.
it would be kind of like I kind of know a lot of the stuff he talks about, but I'm not uh, well versed in it.
Right.
So
What is the stuff that you like talking about?
I've been getting back into the Bible. You know, uh, I had a tradition I raised in was very very Bible heavy, and especially my church that I was in was like there was like a Bible scholar for a minister, and it was just really, you know, when I was a kid, I could show you where most stuff in the Bible was,
Mm-hmm.
the major stuff.
Right.
And I got away from that for a long time, and I've been going back to it. And so yeah, and with the internet now, there's tons of other resources besides just the commentaries of
Right.
what I grew up with. which is cool. And yeah, because I never even knew like a charismatic Christian when I was younger.
Really?
We in my church we believed in that we were cessationists, you know,
Oh,
and so after the apostles died, no more miracles.
uh-huh.
And yeah, I can't really roll with that, you know.
Right.
So yeah, just seeing all these different points of view has been real helpful. Um, and yeah, because so yeah, I've been into like Bible and um, but trying to find different ways of looking at like I I don't know, I just really love it. I love the word, you know.
And you said now that you're coming back, so where you
Right.
been and how's it feeling to be back?
Well, I'll go briefly into that.
Yeah.
I'm kind of at a point in my life right now where like I don't even want to do any randos or tell my life story because I feel like my life story is changing.
Okay.
The past is changing, and I don't even know what's up and down in a lot of ways about what happened. Not that anything too well, just so yeah. I like when I was a kid, I was baptized when I was 13, and it seemed like right after that, it was like a rough time in life and with family and everything. And then all my friends were like skateboarders, and we did lots of drugs and drank a lot. And then when I was like in my late teens, early 20s, I like came back to the church with a vengeance, and I was going to Bible school, and I was going to be a Bible scholar and all these things,
Yeah.
and I studied a lot, and so that was in about 2002, 2003. And then I came home from summer one year, and I just like from Bible school, and I was like, I'm done with that. I'm done with all that, and I just wanted to like play guitar and get high because I could never stop like getting messed up when I was like studying the Bible all the time. And so yeah, I had a lot of trouble, did lots of drugs and drank the whole time, and ended up getting sober when I was 27. And and so I left the church completely. I even there's stuff that freaks me out about it. Like there's one time kind of like there was this old lady from my church, even after I left the church, and I was requested to be a pallbearer at her funeral. And this was like after I wasn't even in anymore. They had disfellowshipped me in my church, so they like shunned me.
Oh, wow.
And uh, we were like, as I was lowering her casket into the ground, I told my buddy, I was like, that was my Christian life going into the ground. So I like it freaks me out looking back, like I flippantly just sort of renounced faith in that way. And it's like, dang, that is pretty heavy. Like I can't believe like I don't looking back, I don't know what happened exactly.
Do
Like
you got any clue?
I definitely have a lot of reasons, but like the big reason, like what in the world? Because I was so devout for a while, and I was so convicted, and then all of a sudden it was just like all in a couple of days I was like, I'm done, you know. And
It's
I mean, part of it is the sower of the rocky soil where the cares of the world and
yeah,
the desire for riches or whatever. And it wasn't even that I wanted to be rich. It was just I felt like there was more to be had outside
right.
of the church context, um, and also in the Church of Christ, it's kind of an insular sort of denomination where we have our doctrines and we have the way everything is, and there was
Right.
just something intuitive in me of like this just can't be, you know, like there's no
Oh,
way like this small group of people who aren't even, I mean, they're pretty well educated, there's definitely are, but it's like it's just basic normal like intelligent people reading the Bible and saying this is the way everything is, we have the right answers for salvation, for correct worship, for views, for beliefs, everything, and we have the right way. And where I came from was pretty argumentative. Like if you questioned a lot of that stuff, it wouldn't be very kind, you know.
hmm.
And so to
Okay.
me, it was just like forget this, you know. And yeah, so I had a lot of trouble with substances, and Then when I was 27, 2010, I ended up getting sober. I went to AA, and so the AA has the 12 steps, and which I didn't know, I didn't really realize at the time, but they're all based on biblical principles.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
but 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 AA is like just God as you understand Him, and it was really refreshing to me to like have a spiritual life that didn't have all these dogmas and beliefs, and I could just
Mm.
say like, no, there's a God, God is love or whatever, and I'm just going to go with that, you know. And it was really great for years, but then so I've been sober 14 years, and it's like I just so in that time I got into meditation because you can't just have like some you can't have a strong spiritual life without having theology. And
Right.
so I had a buddy who introduced me to this meditation practice, and so we I've been kind of wanting to talk to you a little bit for a while, but then on that we were on a stream with Parker on House of Woo a couple weeks ago,
Mhm.
and then you sent me a message during that stream like, yeah, I'd like to talk to about meditation, but this isn't the best time right on the
Right.
stream. So that sounds great because after getting into AA and then getting into meditation, I found this tradition which was supposedly like from Swami Rama at the Himalayas, who claimed to have this ancient tradition which goes back thousands of years from yogis meditating in the
Mhm.
mountains in India. And it's basically there is a lot of theology around it, but it's basically you do like a body exercise or a body relaxation, which everybody knows now, kind of relax the chakras, do a breathing relaxation, and then you do the mantra. So I was like initiated into this tradition and given a mantra,
Okay.
which I did nearly every day for like over 10 years.
For 10 years?
Yeah. And
Wow.
so some days it would be like I'd do like 20 minutes twice a day. Some days it'd be like 5 minutes twice a day. But like my teacher told me, you can never miss a day. So for a long time, I never did.
Wow.
Yeah. And I had some pretty strong experiences with that. And, but I'm going to share it with you one that, like, the most recent experience I had with that was so I've kind of been led back to like reconsidering Christianity over the past couple of years, and then kind of like making big steps. Like, I don't know, I don't want this to all be about me, but um,
Dude, this is all about you. You have no choice because I've been
finally,
wanting.
I always wanted it to be, you know,
I'm teasing. You know what I mean? Dude. I'm
sure.
I'm the nosy guy. I don't know boundaries, and this is fun to me. Like
Okay,
this
well,
is
hopefully,
yeah.
these are kind of stories I've told before, but like a big thing was so the 12 steps, I was really hard nosed about them. I was like a 12-step enthusiast
Yeah.
because because even though I'd like learned the scriptures when I was younger, I never could just be good. I could never be righteous. And I know that you can't be righteous without Jesus and everything, but you know what I mean when like Christians are just like they have faith in themselves, After a while, like
Well,
I was
two things, if you can. I got a
yeah.
noisy printer by me, so a little housekeeping. If you can get closer to the mic, that would help
I
me out because
Yeah, sure. I always have that problem. Uh
I appreciate it quite a bit. And
yeah, don't worry about reminding me either. It won't because I just zone out and I'll just start staring off into space.
uh,
So
okay, the closer you get to the mic, it would help me because I got a printer that's I don't know why it's printing, but anyhow.
yeah.
And then okay, so back up a touch because it started printing when you were talking. So you were
So yeah, I was
practicing. Oh, you were talking about a particular experience.
I'm gonna do that. But like the 12 steps is kind of like the Christian more of a relational um formation of like just basic practice, like day-to-day practice, rather than belief, rather than salvation methods, or rather than worship instructions or any of that. It's just like, okay, so how do I just go to work? How do I act with my family, or things like that? the stuff I always couldn't do. And so I had great experiences with that. I had experiences like some which I know were of God and some which I have no idea what was going on now.
Hmm.
But one experience that I had was when I finally decided, like, okay, I'm going to go back to church. I start going back to church. And then being in AA for years, where it's like, no, God, and there is a lot, like the prevailing thing in AA is that, and this is an official AA, but most people you find there will be of that new age mindset. I don't know what else to tell it, what else to call it, because everybody tries to claim, well, I'm not new age, I'm not Gnostic, I'm not occult, I'm not pagan, but they're all the same thing. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
and it's like there's no name for this thing, but it's all kind of the same. And it, like this perennial view that Jesus is just another prophet.
Hmm.
I had somebody tell me this just the other day, like Jesus was just another prophet, like Buddha or Krishna or whatever.
Right.
Um, and and then like the next day, I read that part in the Bible where it said Jesus says, "Who do you say that I am?" And they say you're a prophet, you know. And he's like, "Who do you say that I am?" And they're like, "You're the Son of God." But uh, so going back to church, and I remember one of the elders was giving this talk, and he's like, people just want to practice the principles of Christianity, like it's going to give them a better life. Almost kind of like addressing the Jordan Peterson thing of like, cultural Christianity and that type of stuff.
Right.
And he goes, but if you don't have like the salvation of Jesus, it's like it doesn't matter. And that hit me hard. Is like, okay, am I going to jump? Am I going to make this leap and own that and like really keep that to my heart? And I I guess I kind of decided I was. And at that time, I was still doing the meditation practice. And then one night, I was doing the meditation practice, and I was like doing the mantra in my head, and I'm sitting there, and then all of a sudden, I like it comes to me like the thought, should I be doing this? Because this is obviously of another God. This is like because yeah, they do.
Right.
Um, but anyway, so all of a sudden, as I was doing, as I was thinking, maybe I should pray and stop doing this. It would be an act of faith almost to stop meditation completely.
Hmm.
And as I was doing it, like I think this was in my head. I'm not saying that this literally happened, but it was. You know how when you're in a super bright room where you're staring at a bright light, but you have your eyes closed and you can kind of
Yeah.
see the light like through
Yeah.
your eyelids. Like
Yeah.
all of a sudden, everything just became so. But my eyes were closed, but everything became so bright. Like it
Hmm.
started getting brighter and brighter and brighter and brighter, and I just stopped. And that was the last time I meditated. And
That was for
it
the other God, right?
no, that was when I started thinking like maybe I should stop this and just go to Jesus.
Because it's noisy here, so I just want to make sure I'm getting this right. So you're meditating for this other God, and then you switch to Jesus. Is that correct?
Yeah, I switched and I thought I think I just need to go fully for Jesus.
Right.
And
And
at that
that's when you
point,
saw the white light.
yeah, I mean I didn't see it. I don't even know if I did see it or if it was in
I,
my head, but it was like, you know,
right. No, that actually, I'm. I can't, I'm like, I don't know if you can see me, but I'm like, that kind of has his thumbprint on it. Uh, and I'm joking, but anyhow,
I hear you.
yeah, I'm like, nah, dude, I got a feeling you said, hey, what's up, dude? And he's like, hi, just hanging out, waiting for you.
Yeah, and it's so crazy because like I don't know many people that are like me that I mean, it wasn't like, I'll hear people say, I left church for a while and I always wanted to get back, like not with
Uh,
me. I really thought I was completely done forever. It wasn't even really, I thought maybe I'll go back someday just to make my family happy, but
right,
I won't believe it, you
right.
know, but then looking at the Bible again through new eyes, um, it's like, no, I think I am. I mean, a lot of the stuff in there is tough to, I mean, most of it is unprovable.
Right.
So a lot of it is on faith, but none of it is disproven either.
I think
So
if
it's,
I if I can throw out, a lot of it archaeologically can be proven. And I
Yeah.
think, but as far as the actual Jesus is the son of God or not, or Buddha or Muhammad or whatever, I think it always comes down to faith. I don't think you ever can prove faith.
No, but it's more important than proof.
What's that?
Faith is more important and stronger than proof.
Yeah, right.
Um,
Um, that's about it. It's and also he does it but through faith so that no one can be better than anyone else and no one can be excluded. It's not by works. It's like you don't have to do anything. You don't have anyhow.
right,
So
right. It's offered to you, and
yeah.
you just take it or not or whatever. And
So how
whether or
long
not there's
ago?
even yeah,
What's that?
no nothing. How long ago? What were you gonna say?
So how long ago was it when you meditated and saw the white light?
Uh, and I don't know. Might have been like 6 months ago.
6 months.
Yeah, something like that. Somewhere in there. It's hard to tell. Um,
Okay.
and that, yeah, I just gave up the meditation. But the thing was, like, so one of the things I wanted to talk to you about is that because it seemed like on that stream I heard you saying something like meditation is okay if it's focused on Jesus, right? So
Right.
I've been still doing contemplative practice, but you know, so I when it comes like Buddhist meditations, zazen, where you focus on your breath, or the meditation
Right.
I was doing where you focus on a mantra, you
Right.
almost you almost get into this state of mind where sometimes your mind is flooded with annoying thoughts, but sometimes you have these moments where you're just like you feel so aware and so
Hmm.
like you are the energy or whatever. But
Yeah.
there is something to that. Um, I experienced that where it's like you get behind all your thoughts and then all you're experiencing is like your own self or whatever.
Hmm.
And but you do that through this like repetitious focus on this object, whether your breath or a mantra. And
Right.
I kind of feel like now I'm suspicious of anything like that.
Can I
Um,
throw some? Can I throw something at you? And I understand, like, if you're suspicious, follow your heart. Like, I'm never gonna. I'm just all right. With that out the way, if you go fishing or hunting, or if you're a passenger in a car, you kind of put your mind in neutral sometimes,
yeah,
and I think that's meditation at times. And the whole counting of breath things, if it's an end game in and of itself, no. But let's say, because I used to do that as well. Um, I'm like, it doesn't freak me out, but I would always say you have Christ in you and with you as you're doing it. Because I did zazen for 20 years, and it was so my whole trip is, now that you're with Christ, it's just you can do stuff that is relaxing and meditative, so to speak, meditation, but it would be um, in and only with Christ, in and with the process of what you're doing.
right.
Does that make sense?
Uh, I think so. Yeah. I mean, what's up, Tunji? Um, yeah, it has like you have to have a clear goal, right? What you're saying, and if that isn't helping you towards your goal, then letting it go. I mean, I don't know. The thing is about that meditation practice I used to do is a lot of people will say I hate meditation, I suck at it, but it was
Yeah.
one thing that I enjoyed. Like it was always the favorite part of my day. And I take that 20 or 30 minutes and relax and then get into that kind of mindless, well, never mindless, but
Right.
that state where you're being guided by this mantra. The thing is like that the great yogis will always say, well, eventually the meditation you'll have that throughout your day. And I never had that. In fact, I felt like it was making me worse and during my day. Like I would be around people and I would just be like detached, but not in a good way, like not even caring what was going on. And like I could tell that it was connected. Like I felt like it was connected with the meditation practice. And so when I, even though I did it up until less than a year ago, I slowed way, way down over the past couple of years. Like I would do it for like 1 minute at a time, and I started to
Yeah.
feel way better in my daily life. Like I actually just, uh, like I could tell that maybe it actually isn't that good for me. Um,
Yeah, it's it it's not. Um, it's so
I,
weird because I everyone who's going to be watching, like, oh, Ron's against meditation. And I was talking with Tunji about this earlier. Um, Meditation is okay and good, and maybe even part of our nature to be contemplative. It's just what are you thinking about, and what's your target, and who are you looking at, and if you want to look at some other god, you'll get that god. You'll become like him. I think and those other gods, they can be entertaining and enjoyable for a little bit, but the end game, not so much.
and
But when you get with Christ, like for me, um, I'll muse on a passage and I'll actually, that's like, I will have God bring a scripture to my mind, and that's where I'll sit, and that's where I'll ponder. And it feels great. Usually he's telling me to cut it out, forgive, you know, or sometimes, and not always that way, but it's also that I'm loved. So I guess what I'm saying is for you, in time, I would not throw the baby out with the bathwater, meaning meditation's not bad. It's like a scalpel. Meditation's not bad. It's a tool. And maybe part of a process we naturally gravitate towards. It's just, what are you doing with it? That's it in a nutshell. How does that sit with you?
well, I mean, that's kind of along the lines of where I'm at because I knew that when I was coming back to church, I wasn't going to be able to completely stop contemplative practice.
Uh huh.
I was going to have, but so I so like I read the Psalms a lot, and I
Well,
find all sorts of like meditation helps in the Psalms. You know, like I saw this verse. It's in chapter chapter 48, I think, and he says, "I enter your temple and I contemplate your loving kindness." And so it's like I look at that like so the temples that was in the Old Testament, but now we're the temple of God. If we have the Holy Spirit, so I go inside myself and just contemplate the love of God. And
mm,
that's a pretty good meditation. And there's lots of I've just been because I grew up with this way of looking at the scriptures where you have to have the perfect exegesis and you got to have like Greek knowledge and blah blah. And I'm just like, no, I'm going to look at it kind of like you were saying is like just sit with it. And what does this mean now?
mm-hmm.
And that's that's kind of what I have been doing. Just like reading stuff really slow and let it kind of work on my heart.
Tunji was just me and Tunji were talking. Ah, is that Tunji? Is that Lecto Divina? You're muted. I think you're muted. There we go. Houston. Okay.
I still can't hear Tingy.
He's working on it. He's giving us the high sign. He's working on it. Ladies and gentlemen.
Let's see.
Hey.
I'm with you.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I have to remember to close the Discord
Oh, yeah.
because override the audio setting of the StreamYard. Yeah, it's kind of Lectio Divina, or a reinterpretation of it. I was saying to Ron before, yeah, I wanted to find it sounds a little bit trivial, I put it that way, a Christian version of meditation, to do. But in reality, yes, it's not. It's even more than just the goal of what you are orienting yourself to. Of course, that is fundamental. But it's also the process. Uh, if the process cannot be always neutral, because it does not be. It wasn't elaborated by neutral people. It was elaborated. If it is something made by Christian for Christians, very likely it's going to be a Christian process. If it is made by Hindus for Hindus, very likely it's going to be an Hindus kind of practice.
Mhm.
So it's even more than a tool, I would say, and probably is not really a tool, because the definition of what you do is so vast that uh, it's just the appearance maybe of it that looks similar on the
Hmm.
on the surface, but we should not judge it just by that appearance, especially because it's allegedly it's a spiritual thing. So how are you going to judge a spiritual practice by the way it looks? So yeah, the meditation part that uh, I went into repenting. That's the right word, I would say. I turn away from um, what I learned doing martial arts a little bit naively, maybe. Qigong. Uh, I repented from that. I turned away and uh, first thinking about what to meditate means. That is the opposite of emptying your mind, but actually to reflect onto something, and you want that something to be truth and good, even beautiful, I would say. So you
Yeah.
want to think about those things, as the Apostle Paul, whatever is uh, good, beautiful, and all
True.
I don't remember the list, but that
Well,
good list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well,
Philippians.
So the easiest way to get to those things is just opening the Bible. And yeah, I did something similar to you, Mark, reading the Psalm a lot and uh, just repeating the verses, you know, and taking my time, listening to it and repeating, listening to it, repeating, and that was I feel beneficial, was fruitful. Uh, there was something lasting after, Uh, at least you were remembering some Bible verses, in the worst case. So you did not simply calm yourself for an hour or something. Uh, you are carrying with you something important.
Right.
And yes, and then of course what did you experience, and the same of what I mentioned to Ron before, what you will eventually end up experience if you if you manage to actually meditate, is that with whom are you going to get in contact with, and then I don't, spiritually speaking, the only person I want to be in contact with is God Himself. So nobody else. And that's where that's where the change of attitude toward it changed, because you either you either are in contact with God, and or you are in contact with something else that is not God and is not good.
So, Mark, what kind of oh, yeah, man. Okay, what kind of questions, like you were sharing when you were sharing your experience, when you basically you turn back towards God?
Yeah.
That, and this is just my opinion. I could take that apart, but maybe we can circle around back to that later. What has it been like since since you're back cool with Christ? What kind of questions have you had about meditation that that you were just concerned about, or that you were like we're cool cool with? What in meditation do you is still attracting to you, and what do you think might be good? Because I think it is good. Like Tunji was talking, and what's going on now? Because I, if you have questions, I really do want to try to tease them out.
Um, well, yeah, I don't know. I look into like I read a Thomas Merton and like Richard Rohr and Thomas Keating. These are guys like contemplative prayer, and when I really look at what their practice is, it kind of is just a sort of mantra of like finding one word and repeating it over and over. And which I said I'm not really comfortable with anymore for myself.
Right.
But I'm glad they do it so they can tell me what's going on. Maybe I'll try that again. But I just kind of feel like, but 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 the question, I can't think of any questions I have. I mean, you kind of, I was wondering what you did, and even what Tunji said is kind of similar, and that's kind of what I do, which is sort of a slow lectio divina type reading of
Hmm.
the scripture. But not to get wooey, but like looking back to when I was doing the meditation practice, I'm
Yeah.
wondering like what was going on there, like what, because on one hand, you do have the theology of yoga, but then on the other hand, if you get really into it, like the yogis will be like, well, all that stuff is kind of mythological, and it's really just God is within you, and you need to get in touch with the spirit within you, and you're part of everything, blah blah, all that stuff. And so, in a way, like I wasn't trying to be conscious of these other entities. I was really kind of trying to get in touch with God, but I was just kind of headed in the wrong direction, you know. I would, and but then like I would have these experiences in meditation, and it's like for years I lived on these. Like when I first started doing it, I was in a dark depression, and I was meditating a lot, and I had an experience where something was in the room with me, and it was like loving and illuminated, and it was another thing where I didn't see it, I just sensed it. And like I lived off that for years. I had another experience where like I was diagnosed with obsessive compulsive disorder, and I had a pretty big healing from that in doing this mantra meditation. And it's like, so what, like, was that actually like demons giving me a little healing?
Sorry. Oh, my bad. It's my bad. My phone just beat. That's my fault. Are we there? Sorry,
you,
Tunji. That
you
was a
you need to
demon.
put an alert
Yeah, that
on
was
the
my
video
bad.
for those headphone users.
So, I'm so sorry. Let me turn this thing off. Let me turn this guy off. Anyhow, To answer your question, um, there I'm out of there. This is the weird thing. I have seen God's mercy manifest in other modalities, and I'll speak from myself. He, I think, all right, I'm gonna just go with God is merciful, one, and even if you're not calling on His name, He might show up. And soon you hear me out because I'm gonna go somewhere with this. He might just show up and go, listen, kid, I love you, and I'm gonna heal you, because I know of profound healings in other religions. Now the downside to that is there was a girl who had a shattered pelvis from a car accident. Her new age friends prayed for her, and she was authentically healed. The problem is the author of that healing would lead you away from Jesus. Now, in your case, I'm not saying Satan gave you a healing to lure you away. Because it's like this, God can move in mercy. So I guess what I'm not giving you an answer, but I'll just say in the future, if someone goes, well, I'm a Reiki master, and if I pray for you, you'll be healed. I'll be like, I'll tell you what, I appreciate the prayer, but no, because Reiki has a different author behind it. I'll accept your kindness and I'll say thank you, but I'm waiting for Jesus to do it. So to answer your question is, I don't know who healed you, but I'd have to say, here you are. But, okay, and I can tease it out even more. When let's say the Reiki master does heal you, what I've heard consistently is, yeah, something got healed here, but then I developed this other thing. And
Dude,
sometimes,
you know what? As you're talking, as I was talking, it's like stuff is now occurring to me that I've never really thought about, which is that I did get some tools to like deal with some stuff I had going on, but they just like blew up in another form. You know, I
oh,
never even really was conscious of that until like
yeah,
right now. It's something that sort of occurred to me and I never like let it in, but you know,
yep,
it's like that. It's weird. Yeah.
okay. And
Yeah,
I'm just, go ahead.
yeah. What I was saying to you before about the time that I got sick, and uh, all of the sudden I had chronic pain and chronic fatigue, and all the doctors were telling me to go do meditation and yoga was the best thing for me apparently, and they do not. I don't think that they were telling me that from a religious perspective. They were telling me that because pragmatically what they have seen is that things works. But the problem is that as a Christian, I'm not a Christian because I am a pragmatist or because of strict utilitarianism. I'm a Christian because I worship Christ, and what I do is supposed to give glory to Him. It's not just to get the best in life all the time. That's a different religion.
That is
So
paganism.
yeah, so the trick is that certain things they work sometimes, you know.
Yeah, they do.
Uh, so our judgment is not based upon the fact that if they works or not. Our consideration has to be one higher one. Uh, yeah,
And that's something that I liked about the 12 steps is that it was something that you could see results. You know, like when I was a little kid and I was having like mental problems, like people in my church were like, "Well, it'll be better when you get to heaven." I'm like 12 years old. I'm having all these problems, and it's like, well, I really don't have. I don't know if I'm gonna make it. I might live like 70 more years. You know.
Wow.
Yeah. And so there wasn't much, but yeah. So the like coming back to the church, it's like I kind of understand like the whole the cross is everything. So it's like that's pretty impractical. Like the cross is pretty like this is the goal, you know. It's kind of messed up. Um, and but but yeah, I feel like with I wasn't really able to put these things together. Like I had to go on a trip. I had like for the past 5 years or something. I you know I was like looking into magic. I was looking into paganism and stuff like that, and it just I came to the conclusion like this is no good. Like I I don't want in on this because even that you know this it's funny like I'll talk to people in AA and they'll be like, well, I have my own beliefs about God. And oh, you have your own beliefs. What are your own beliefs? And they're like, well, God isn't actually just one person. He's actually a force and he pervades everything. We're all part of him. And he's in every religion. And it's like, wow, your own ideas that like everybody else has, good for you, you know? And it's like that is paganism. Like to me, paganism isn't about necessarily different gods. It's about that God comes from something else. Like there's a force. There's this like underlying ground that God and gods and we emerge from, rather than God is the source. And so I feel like these things like they get obfuscated. It's like a lie, you know. It's a lie that they're different because like in the gods of paganism aren't necessarily moral; they're good or bad. And so where was I going with that? Just yeah, I don't remember what my point was in that. Aside from like the belief that this perennialist belief that I just kind of it felt good. It felt really good just to say, no, I think I'm just gonna go with Christ. I'm gonna and then after I decided I was gonna try to get back into church, I would start reading the Gospels. And every time I would read the Gospels and I would read about Christ, I just felt like he didn't like me. Like I was just thinking, I'm not gonna be able to do it. I can't get back in. Like he doesn't like me. I'm not gonna make it, you know. I and it took a lot of prayer and a lot of reading and stuff to finally I once had an experience that like I was following Christ with tons of his disciples, but I was at the back of the crowd. And it's like he's not gonna come and pat me on the head and say everything's okay, you know, you're fine. It was like, no, you gotta like keep following me at the back of the crowd. And I was like, okay, I'll just do that, you know. Because I want to be the chief disciple. You know, I want to like be like John and James and be the ones at his right hand or whatever. It's like, no, you're actually the worst. So and that was like actually a great realization when it was that yeah, Christ actually like you renounced your Christian faith, you did all this crazy stuff, and like and now he has called you back, like Christ has called you back. It's like that's that's enough, you know. That is enough for me. And so um, yeah, I could go off into other stuff, but what do you guys have to say?
Yeah, that's one way to explain to put the paganism aspect of meditation practices. but I would say paganism is still better than pantheism or this sort of perennialism,
Hmm.
because at least paganism is honest when they kind of know that they are worshipping lesser gods, or regional gods or regional power. Okay, I am in this mountain. I worship the god of this mountain, and there is no this illusion that is uh, the one god of the universe.
Hmm.
There are many gods, and I worship one of them. So there is a sort of it's actually more biblically correct as approach. It's completely wrong, but still correct.
It's the unknown God.
It's metaphysically more correct.
That's hilarious. I've never heard that. You know what I mean? I'm like, okay, that's different. It reminds me of when Paul went to Mars Hill and he goes, I would like to now talk to about the unknown God. Yeah, so anyhow, that's kind of
Yeah, but I was not just trying to to make an apology for paganism, but
right.
to say that
Well, at least it's
the
not
deception
atheism,
of
right?
that pantheism is a worse deception, because while you are dealing with some lesser gods, those lesser gods are convincing you that you are in contact with the one true God,
Mm,
with the creator of heaven and earth, and is convincing you that he is in everything.
that's what I was
So
into.
so is a worse deception, because you more likely are going to miss in that direction the way for to the one true God, you know, because it's not sufficient anymore that you present. If you're a pagan and I present you Christ, and and I tell you that Christ has conquered all the powers and principality and thrones and king and princess of the earth, he is as all the authority and power. You may disagree, but you understand the argument, and maybe you will believe in it and receive it. If you are a pantheist and I tell you that, you may say, but I am already worshiping Jesus. Then, if Jesus is God, then I'm already worshiping God when I do all my pagan stuff anyway. So I don't have to. I am already good. So it's more insidious, and I think that's the reason why it's more popular today, at least has been for a while, to be some sort of pantheist than a fully open pagan.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I I would say though that it is just paganism disguised as
Yeah.
something better. Um, but yeah, and that's basically the religion of the world right now. Um, and especially like of America and probably a lot of Europe, because I know this has been talked about a million times, but people will deny Christ, but then they believe other weird superstitious things. And when you get down to it, it's like, oh, God is in everything, you know. And I don't know. It's been just refreshing to come back to, no, God isn't in everything. God made everything, and a lot of it went wrong, but it's actually God is in heaven. That's a much more bold statement, I think.
Yeah.
And even like I I'm not well read in philosophy at all, but from what I understand about Hegel is that that's a kind of pantheism, that God is this thing that you sort of just discover through science, through dialectic, and God is just always being. You go by the Spirit and discover God as you go, and like you're almost like you're co-creating God all the time, and that's like a almost a very beautiful sounding way to look at life, but it's like it's also deceptive, like you were saying, because people will be like, well, yeah, I do honor Jesus, but then they think they have like a more enlightened view of Jesus than a Christian.
Yeah.
And what I can't believe, like when I was younger and being taught in Bible class, like the phrase made in the image of God, I was never explained that that has to do with the type of idolatry that, ancients believed that the gods resided within their like idol products, like the wooden statue wasn't the god, but the god would visit that. And so we are the idol of God, or I shouldn't say idol, but God.
You may say that that's the literal word that is in the Bible when it says the image of
Really?
God. Yeah,
Really?
it's the idol of God. Idol is image.
I
So
can't
that's
believe
it's
I was.
actually
I
actually
can't, because I always wondered, what
exact.
does that mean? What does the image of God mean? But now that makes total sense, because God wants to dwell within us, and so, one thing that freaks me out is if I was baptized, I had faith, and I fell away, and then I'm sitting there in meditation, opening, like me being an idol, me being something in the image, like my body being a place where the divine is supposed to dwell. I'm like opening myself up to all these other gods, and it just freaks me out now, because I actually really believe in all that stuff, that that the ancient gods were demons, and that they still are very active today. And I just like feel terrible that I grieved the Holy Spirit. There's been times like, did the Holy Spirit leave? Was he there the whole time? Is he back now? Like, I don't know. I think the Holy Spirit is here. It seems to be that just the way things have been working out, I feel like I've been helped spiritually in every vital point. Like, not always helped psychologically, not always helped financially, physically, etc., even mentally. But spiritually, I feel like I'm in grace, by all accounts. But yeah, just like, you know, people, like, opening myself up to these, and Ron, I feel like, to get wooey, I mean, I feel like I have demonic, I don't know if it's infestation, it's not possession, but some type of attachment going on. And I'm actually going to go to Christian therapy, and I'm waiting to like find a good time. I'm going to ask for like a serious laying on of hands prayer, you know? I don't want to just go asking random people, but I'm going to get that. And like, yeah, I've had some crazy experiences with spirits, man. Um, and, but and even lately too, some of it has almost gotten worse, but it's like the, the Lord is more powerful still in my life. And so it's a good sign, because I would die. I would die if I didn't have that assurance. I'd probably kill myself, something like that. But yeah, so um, I don't know what
Can't
else
hear
to say about.
you. Ron is talking, but now is even more muted than before. He's double muted. Let's wait for him.
Are we back?
Yes.
We are back.
Okay, cool. All right. So I do you want my dude, I'm not gonna mince words. You're back. And so it's not by feelings, it's by faith. And so I like that you're going to a Christian therapist. That's awesome. I like that you're going to have hands laid on you. That's also awesome. Have you been baptized yet? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, I was baptized when I was 13.
Oh, okay, cool. Excellent.
I mean, and that's one of the things that freaks me out is that I was baptized, I was saved, and then I just like went fully away.
I got news for you, dude. That just makes you normal. I mean, welcome to the club. I'm sorry, but you ain't seen crazy, dude. Listen, I got friends who were raised in church, went full on Satanists,
Right.
and then God got them back. And it is not to diminish your story. It's actually just the opposite. It's like, no, dude.
No, yeah.
Okay, you're fine. You're in the house. And what's funny? When I used to go play in the woods, I'd come home muddy, and my mom would just get a garden hose and wash me down. But I was at home. I wasn't in the woods. So this is a joke, but I think, all right, you just came out of the woods and you're a little bit muddy. God's spirit, his love, his word, his people, you're going to wash you down and just get some of the mud off. But you're home. Um, does that make sense? Mark Parker.
You're so biblically wrong. Just
Listen,
saying, like Jesus said, Peter, you just need to be washed on your feet. You are already being cleansed, but you need your feet to be washed.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah. So sometimes it's very dirty feet, sometimes it's more than feet, but still is is that kind of washing that we need
Yeah.
regularly, because it's not something that is done once. Uh, you know, we we wash ourselves every day, and
Mm,
yeah. But another things against perennialism that has to do with that problem of uh, the demons being annoying is that uh, there is something that people don't accept easily or realize, or there is some naivete that maybe is a spiritual kind of deception itself. Is that the the alternatives to Jesus, uh, they are seen sometimes as neutral, maybe less good than Jesus, but still good,
mm,
you know, or
right.
things like that.
Yeah.
But the problem is the reality, and that's why the jealousy of God. Why is God is why our God is a jealous God? It's because everyone else is bad. It's just bad, and the moment that they uh, have a contact with you, they always throw shackles and things like that, and traps. They're just out there to hurt people.
Right.
There is no other uh, uh, bigger plan, actually, but just to do some damage
They
um,
want to, they want to
in the
kill
meanwhile.
you.
Yeah, they just want to do some
Yeah.
damage, and they and they work through bindings, like to go back to paganism. Those who uh, worship some deity, they bind themselves to that. They, even if they were aware, but maybe now they are not aware
Mm,
that the way that you are exchanging, are this you are in this favors exchange a relationship. You're getting binded. You're
yoked.
you're losing your yoke. Yes, you're losing your freedom, your spiritual freedom to serve God, to serve them instead. So and it's a yoke that is painful and heavy and annoying and thorny. Uh,
Especially
Yep.
when you
and there
try to
is,
get out.
Yeah.
yeah, when you try to get out, it's not one and done most of the time. It's not because you have to That's depends, of course. Can be complicated, but you have to undo the the relationship that was created, and that relationship was not just made in a moment, in a day. You know,
Mm.
if you spend a lot of time,
It's like a
uh,
breakup.
yeah,
Yeah.
you have to consider that maybe you will take the same amount of time uh, to fix that problem. Maybe not, because with God, and He will help us. He can do more good to us, much more than the devil can do harm to us. Way. There is no proportion there for sure. But still, humanly speaking, we have to detach ourselves from all those bad stuff. The path of deliverance is the path of repentance, and
Can I speak to that?
that's go ahead.
Okay, so Mark, when you said, and I jokingly call them critters, like if you think you have something attached to you or slimed or whatever you want to call it, I can tell you this. I think a basic outline for all freedom is confession in Christ. That's one. That blows out a lot of junk. Number two is getting baptized. By the way, you don't have to get rebaptized. You got baptized once. Um, then it goes the number one with a bullet is confession.
Yeah.
If you can confess to God, or if even better, I think, God's not bad, but to a trusted friend in private, you dump your junk, and then forgiveness is huge. Like, forgive everybody. Forgiveness is not letting them get away with murder. It's just saying, I won't be vengeful because they did it.
You are kind of like summarizing the 12 steps right now. What you're saying.
Well, okay. Yeah.
I
So,
mean,
okay, here's a funny thing. I think,
aside from the confessing Christ.
oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. I think the 12-step program, when done properly with Jesus, is actually an exorcism. Fancy word, but inner healing, whatever you want to call it. That's because I looked at the 12-step program. It's a good program, but Jesus is the gunpowder that makes it go bang. But the other steps, even if you don't confess Jesus, if you forgive, that's huge.
Well,
That's
the most powerful experiences I had with the 12 steps was when my understanding of God was, I don't know. I just believe there's a God. I don't know. And I'm just going to do this action. And I had great experiences with that. But then, nothing exists in a vacuum. And I start studying all this weird stuff and then have all these problems.
yeah.
But eventually the 12 steps, like that was the reason that pushed me over the edge to coming back to Jesus, because
Oh,
for years, like step 8 and 9 is about making amends to people you've harmed. And I
uh-huh.
always felt like, so step 8 is making a list. And I always felt like my list is incomplete. I don't know who I have to make amends to. And I've made, I've appeared in court. I've, called old bosses. I've gone to different states, paid people back, all these different things. And I still had this sense that like, what is missing? And then a series of things happened and I realized, oh yeah, it's Jesus I need to make amends to, because like I, when I was baptized and I believed and I made it that decision to,
hmm
be a Christian, and then I just let it go. And not only did I hurt, well, I hurt the church, I actually hurt a lot of people in the church, just through disrespect. And so that was like the thing that I have to make amends to Jesus by going back to church. And that was like what brought me back, was that kind of realization,
Hmm.
But yeah, like the thing about like demons getting worse once you're trying to leave them. Like that's another thing, like in alcoholism, people will talk
Yep.
about that. You know, when you just say, forget it, I'm just going to drink every day, then things actually aren't that bad. It's when you decide to say, like you, and then you have a bunch of consequences eventually, and you say,
Yeah.
okay, I'm gonna get this under control, and then it gets really bad.
Yep.
Like when you start trying to have control over it, a lot of the time is when it gets worse. And I think that's kind of symbolic for lots of things in life.
It's not symbolic. It's actually the demons are getting ticked.
Right.
They're like, "Oh heck no, you ain't leaving." And that's I'm that guy. I mean, I shouldn't say it's always that, but it reminds me of when you have a ball of yarn and a cat, and when you try to pull the ball of yarn away, and we're that ball of yarn, and the demons are the cats. It's when you are pulling away from the stuff, that's when they're like, "Oh no, you don't." So, and it manifests
Right.
in anyhow. I don't want to interrupt. So these things that you think you have. Oh, the one thing you can do that you have the right to say is you can break your relationship with these things you're feeling or experiencing. I have nothing against laying on the hands, and I love the Christian uh, therapist. That's cool. But you can start with basic house cleaning and say, like, emotions, you will line up in the in the heart of. I'm getting too complicated. You can break up with these things. You can tell them to go yourself, and that I would at least encourage you to try. And if it doesn't work, then you get help. But what I think is people's prayers are a lot more effective than they know. And I would encourage you to pray for yourself, bless yourself, renounce what's bad, and declare your sonship in Christ. You know, when God said, "This is my beloved son in whom I'm well pleased," that's us. That's you. And anything that says otherwise, you're allowed to say, "You're a liar. Yeah, I'm listening to you. You're another voice. And I am not going to go, I'm not following you in my mind and heart." That's kind of my rant for that.
A few weeks ago, I was up in the middle of the night, about 3 a.m., and I
Yeah.
was struggling with some thoughts. And I
Yeah.
did that. I was like, I renounce this. I completely, please take this away. And all these things, you know, leave.
Right.
And then the next morning, my wife said at 3 a.m. she was having terrible demonic nightmares.
Oh, well, next time you do it, next time you're house cleaning, you can say, "Lord, protect my wife and my family from these."
Yeah.
When the mud's getting splashed off me, don't let it splash on them.
It's like
Yeah.
with my Christian upbringing, I thank God for them for teaching me the Bible. I mean, they're awesome Bible teachers, but and I would never like I really have tried to say that I will never like badmouth these people that I grew up with.
Right.
But one thing that was missing was like emphasis on a strong prayer life. You know, that's
Right.
really what I needed. I didn't need to fill my head with all this Bible knowledge. I actually needed to like learn how to pray. And I feel like I never was really taught that other than like praying over your food or praying in
Mhm.
church. Like, what
Oh,
does actual praying without ceasing look like? And that's, you know, I feel like that's my biggest regrets of my day when I just have been not prayerful. Just kind of,
well,
There is always time. We have an eternity in front of us to learn to pray and to stay in worship.
yeah.
So don't be too regretful about that. That's all the future that we have ahead.
Yeah, and I'm trying not to be too like self referential here. I wish I could talk about these things more in a objective and detached manner, but you know, what can I say? I'm self-centered and
I'll,
No,
I'll
I
be
feel you.
honest.
I feel you.
I think this is the place, and at least for me here, I like this is exactly. It's time to be self-referential. It's like going to a mechanic. It's not. narcissism. It's just like, okay, I got this going on. What do you think? And I like that because I didn't have it when I was growing up spiritually. And I got lost in the
Oh,
woods for a while. But here we are.
I feel like if I would have known you when I was 20 years old, I probably, if I would have turned out, but when I was 20, I was like this stuck up kid, and I probably would have thought that like healing was fake or whatever. At
Well,
this the same time, like I that was another thing that was missing in the tradition I grew up in was like kind of mentorship, you know.
oh,
Like there was
that's
nobody I
you.
felt like there was nobody that I felt like I could talk to stuff about or talk about stuff with. You know, that was
Right.
like older and been through like there was nobody within our circle that had struggled with substance abuse or things
Oh,
like that. Like
right.
nobody. And so it was like, well, you have no answers for me, you know?
Right. I think maybe that's what's going on here. I hope. I think in the corner in general, but
Dude, absolutely no. I mean, that's why I got into it. You know, like hearing Parker and some other like, and then some other people who I've seen PBK interview who are like from my religious tradition who have a different point of view.
hmm,
It's like it's been such a trip. Like I I can't I I couldn't have probably come back without the corner or whatever. You know,
oh wow,
I
that's
can't
crazy.
imagine it. Can't imagine it. So,
Hmm.
That is encouraging.
Yeah. So you might. So you think okay. So you might have some critters messing with you, and you're getting help. I like that. We talked about meditation. You know, it's funny. Like with me and Mark, when we talk, it's the House of Woo. Is for me, and I only mention it because it's just my. It's very experiential for me. The relationship with God, and I hope you get. I hope you get yours because if you're dealing with demons, my opinion is well. If you had demonic encounters, well, then why not angelic? Like double for your trouble. And if it's simply sleeping at night at peace with you and your family, that ain't bad. You know, like I get up, I got messed with last night as well. You know, it happened and it was pretty bad. It was an old critter. It came back and I'm like, "What? You?" And I was tired and I'm like, and I remembered from Padre Pio. He said that a demon or Satan showed up and was causing a ruckus in his room. And he just looked at him, you know, turned over in bed, looked at him and said, "Oh, it's you." We went back to bed. And I actually did that last night. I'm like, I ain't got time for you. I'm just it's and then today I'm feeling pretty good. Like there's some of the spiritual problems I've been wrestling with. It ain't happening. You know, there's a peace and a love in my heart that I thoroughly enjoy. You know, I'm not always going with the feels, but I'll be honest, for 24 years, it's been a pretty touchy feely thing between me and God. Um, and I like what Tunji's saying, you know, for sure. And I like what's going on with you, but it's like my end game is for someone to have the best relationship they can have with God in their own way. I don't want someone to be like me. I just want them to be whatever they're supposed to be. And anything that's hindering it, that's what I like helping getting out of the way. You know, things talking to you in the middle of the night. Like, talk back. Give it scripture. Beat on it. Does that make sense?
yeah, yeah. Makes sense. I I kind of have come to the, you know, like the thing about, well, you have demonic encounters, why not some angelic ones? And I've kind of been to where like I'm not looking for the angel anymore.
Right.
I'm I may not get an angel in this life. You know? But all I'm looking for is just like when the scriptures say, like, search my heart. And stuff like that means like search my mind. Like I want every area of my mind eventually to just be rooted out, like the garbage. I know we'll never be perfect in this life,
Mm.
but it's like I'm still uncovering stuff,
Right.
and I want eventually just that stuff to be rooted out and to, I don't know, like
Yeah.
reading these old saints. Like I've been listening to the audiobook of 400 Texts on Love by Maximus the Confessor. He just like he really is searching, like striving for spiritual perfection in that, and it's pretty encouraging and beautiful the way he talks about it, and just like, yeah, if I can just be assured in my heart that I'm right with God, like, because I am a pretty superstitious person. I like ghost stories and I like woo and all that, but in the end, I know that's not the goal.
And can I interrupt for 1 second? And do not go by your feelings. This is going to sound odd coming from me. You do not go by your feelings, dude. It's when you're flying this plane at night in a storm, you don't go by your feelings. You go by the word of God. And if you're, once you say, Jesus, forgive me, you don't go by your feelings. You just go by, he said it, I'm doing it, let's roll. And you don't look back. That's actually the armor of God. The armor of God is mental and emotional. Right now, you are getting, I think Catholics call it catechesis. It's basic education in formation. So I'm reading you the Riot Act now because this is your greatest offensive weapon and defensive weapon. I confess Jesus as Lord and Savior, however you want to put it. I did it once. It's like being born. I ain't going back anymore. I did the deal. We're good. Because then you shut out fear, doubt, double-mindedness. What is it? Because if you are always wondering if you're saved, you're sitting duck.
Yeah.
It's like marriage, dude. It ain't about feelings. It's about a marriage contract. You know, at least here in the States. Like, did you sign the paper? Were you in front of a judge? Did you get it notarized? Okay. I don't care how you feel. You're married. So I just gave you the Riot Act.
Yeah, and another encouragement to Mark. Things do get better spiritually, and deliverance happens, and there are breakthroughs. So don't be too pessimistic on that, because you're in the right path. So according to the goodness of God, you will not lack what you really need. You can be sure about that.
And I'm not trying to sound like I'm dying over here or anything either.
Right.
I'm pretty optimistic, like, but still a bit shaken, you know, sure.
All right. Well,
That was,
but the nice thing is you're talking to people like us now, and you're getting, you know, you can, and so you're getting the education.
Yeah. And I mean, I liked it that one time I was talking to you, Ron, and you were like telling me how to heal people. That's interesting. You know, like nobody. I need to learn how to live it, not how to learn it. You know.
Yeah.
Like that makes sense. I don't.
Yeah. No. This discipleship.
I was given a biblical education, but not a discipleship education.
Yeah.
Everybody was just expected to be good, and now that church is like dead.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not coming down on them, but if it's not the right place, see ya. Find the right place. And then there's nothing wrong with you're being replanted. And then when you do get replanted, stay a long time, let your roots grow, get to know people, be in community. Um, it's fun. It's good. It's beneficial. You know.
Cool thing is we might move a couple hours north of where we live right now.
Yeah.
So I was up in that area a couple weeks ago. I visited a church there,
Yeah.
and it was so good. Like I talked to one of the deacons for a really long time, and we were like on the same page about all the basic stuff. And it was like it wasn't all super old people, which is nice. Because sometimes you go to these little churches and it's just all gray hair, and they're just like. And so
Right.
I'm pretty optimistic about that. Like move up there, be part of this community. You know, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. There you go. Trying to think. Do, in so do you, God, I feel like a mechanic talking here. Do you have a prayer life at this time?
Yeah, man. I mean, yeah, because one thing I learned in AA is like to pray in the morning and the evening.
What's that?
One thing I learned in AA was to pray in the morning and the evening.
Okay.
And so I still do that, but I kind of worked out like my own devotionals that I kind of made up out of the Bible and everything.
Okay.
I try to pray all day, you know. I try
Right.
to pray whenever I can remember. But it's kind
Okay.
of funny how sometimes you don't feel like it. You
Right.
know? Like why don't I feel like praying? There's nothing else to do.
Right.
I'm not going to think about anything good. I might as well just pray.
That's exact. Yeah. I mean,
That's been this huge part of this journey now. Is like what one thing that I never did when I was younger is like pray regularly. Now I pray all the time,
right.
and I try to pray the Bible. Like I was taught that the Bible is this document. It's like a scientific thing that this you just use it to prove your point of view.
Oh,
Which it is that too, but it's like no, I think that the Bible is like one long prayer in a way.
right.
That's a way to look at it. So I read the
Right.
Psalms, I turn them into prayers, and then I just notice all these things that are just prayers in the Bible. And it's like one is I think it's Psalm 133, which said, "Unto you I lift up my eyes, O you who dwell in the heavens." There's more to it, but that's kind of like a mantra of mine that lifting up my eyes to the heavens, to God in the heavens. Like it's not literally my eyes, but it's my attention to God in heaven. You know, I'm just like and just kind of redirect my thoughts towards that. And also like God in the heavens, that's also Jesus, because he was like lifted up on the cross. So it's like on one hand you have God in the heavens, like is this eternal good entity, but then also you have Jesus on the cross in the heavens. So it's like you have this different, it means different things. And I mean, I try to pray a lot, and so yeah, and then like in the book of Revelation at the end of the Bible, there's like all those heavenly beings are saying like glory and wisdom and peace and power
Right.
to the Lamb. I just like do those prayers, you know. Kind of,
Are you talking about the cherubim that go holy, holy, holy?
yeah, yeah, and and then there's like other parts where there's just like all the people and all the beings and all the angels of heaven say glory be to the Lamb and honor.
Right.
I try to do these things. I haven't really talked about it that much, but no, that's like the main thing. Trying to just be prayerful, and I've been because my wife is not. She's not interested in the religion I'm in, and so I try to. But she still will pray with me. She reads the Bible with me, but she don't go to church with me.
Okay.
So try to pray with her when I can. But she's like pretty. She's kind of witnessed some of the more negative things from the tradition I come from. So she's like really reluctant to have anything to do with it. And so I get that, but I still try to pray with her. Yeah. So, what does your prayer look like?
Oh, I was sorry, I'm muted. For me,
Yeah.
um, it's right now. What I'll do is I'll I'll listen to the Bible for a while, other preaching, and then my prayer life, at least right now, is incredibly passive. Um, almost looks like I'm sleeping or just daydreaming. Um, I put my I put my attention towards Christ, and I dial down, and by faith, I'll just look inward, and He's there. It's so weird. I don't. I pray for people, and dude, my prayer life looks like me just sitting in sunshine, receiving it. If that makes any sense. And then he'll talk to me about, forgiving people, and it's a lot like a metal detector. I'll be thinking about stuff, and when I hit either, and it can be positive or negative. If I have a bad attitude against someone, I'll feel it. Like it'll get weird up in my heart, and I'll be like, "Uh-oh, I got a bad attitude." And then I'll work it backwards and find out where I'm wrong, repent for it, and then get back in the sweet spot with God. And then and then let's say I'm doing good, I'll just appreciate his presence. Because at work, I've got it. They're good guys, but they ain't saved. They're just roughnecks. And when I dial down, it is a place of peace and contentment. So, and then when I pray for people, which I will do, then I'll start talking and blessing people, trying, declaring good outcomes. Does this make it?
Yeah.
Okay?
It sounds like yeah. I'm
It's
tracking. It's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what you call it, but
Well, it sounds like
and I think
that part in Philippians. Think on these things, whatever is good, whatever is
yeah,
pure, honorable, all that.
yeah. Right. Yeah. So that's it. It's So my prayer life, and then conversations like this. Oh, dude, for me, conversations are so important because it will bear witness if I'm right or wrong. Like if I'm in a bad spot, I'll feel there's no flow going on. I'll feel there's no connection between me and God. I'll be like, and then I'll probably have to wind up I'll start confessing like, yeah, I got a bad attitude or something, or something hurt me, and I'll forgive, um, and then conversely, if let's say someone's down or hurt, I'll just keep asking questions until I get to the root of it. Within without being too rude or nosy, but usually if you can get them to deal with it in a safe, proper way, bam, that's nothing but fun. They get happy. You resolve an issue. Um, and like talking with you, like to me, this is fun.
Right.
Like it's, I'm not into sports, but you talk to me about this. Oh, like we're going all day, dude.
Yeah.
So Uh-oh, ladies
I
and
thought for
gentlemen.
a lot. Ah, Mr. Parker.
Hey, Mark.
Hello there.
How you guys doing?
Good
I'm
morning.
really
Morning.
sorry. I came in late and I don't have any. I didn't do any catch up. I mean,
Oh, you're fine.
so I
You
Listen,
don't
got to
know.
go back and watch the whole thing.
I do. I'm going to
Right.
have to go back and listen. I may have a lot of downtime. I mean, it'd be a lot of hurry up and wait time the day because my mom was found on the floor last night. Nothing broke, but she's not been doing very well. And they called the paramedics, but we made the decision that since nothing was broken and we decided to leave her in place rather than take her to the hospital. See how it goes. Every trip to the hospital has been, she goes into delirium after about 5 hours. I mean, she can't process the experience cognitively.
Yep.
So she just slips into delirium. And the problem is with dementia at this level is it just, sometimes they can go in so deep it's gone forever. They just stay there, or they find a new baseline that's lower. And we're trying. So it's a constant balance. So those are my problems. The devil was busy last night. It sounds like.
Right. Well, dude, I had a demon come talk to me last night.
Yeah, we got to deal with this. But
Oh
I
no,
don't know if we'll. And
it
then
was-
our friend Tim,
yeah. Yes.
Marylander,
Yeah.
sounds like he could use some prayer. So hopefully I send him the link. Hopefully he'll hop on and talk to you, Ron.
Yeah. No,
I-
that's cool. You like this when the demon showed up? I'm not kidding you. I thought of Padre Pio. I said, I ain't got time for you. I'm going to bed. I just
There you go.
yeah, it was fun. I mean, I don't like it, but I ain't got time for you.
Yeah, you don't have to take him too seriously.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
I
not
woke
like
up
the
in middle of
movies.
I woke up in the middle of the night last night and I couldn't sleep for a few hours either, and I was stressed out for no reason.
So this may
I mean, it's
sound
probably-
really non-wooey.
Probably not as stressed out as Parker was. I mean, we had an actual situation rather than.
I don't know. No, I don't know. I've had those mornings or those late nights. This
Those
this
for
is
your
very non-wooey, Mark. Have you? I do a little electrolyte thing. It's a mix. But I take some electrolytes. It's mostly potassium, and I take it before I go to bed, and it's it's a really good sleep aid, and it also I don't have the experience of anxiety like midnight or 2 in the morning bouts of anxiety that I used to get when I take this.
What's it
Heart
called?
palpitations. There's something. It's really weird how it could be something as simple as that. And maybe with aging, with aging, our bodies change and our demands for certain kinds of vitamins and minerals change too.
Well, I was taking a magnesium glycinate for years.
Okay.
And then I started waking up again, and I'd have these stomach pains, and then I stopped taking it. I stopped having the stomach pains. So I think so now I take it every now and then. But what's the electrolyte called?
The formula I follow, I make my own, but I follow a formula by what's his name? Berg.
Oh, Dr. Berg, the keto doctor.
Yeah, the YouTube. I don't know. He seems to straddle the line between really good and quack. But
Well, he is like a Scientologist.
he is. I know. I'm not. I can't. It's not necessary. But some of his advice has worked out really well, and then some of it is just too far out for me.
He's like the YouTube keto.
Exactly. He's a YouTube keto king. Anyway, he has. Let me find the. It's an electro. I only take half a dose though. I don't take his full keto dose because it will spike your potassium too high. At least it did for me. But so I do like half of his recommended dosage. YouTube supplement electrolyte. There we
I
go.
think I've seen that before. It's called Dr. Berg's something. I think.
Yeah, it is. But I just look at the back of the formula, and it is. I wish I could find it. It's not popping up. Let's see. Actually, you know what? I could read it to you. I think I have it on my phone. Anyway, keep talking, guys. I didn't mean to interrupt. When I
Oh,
find
no,
it, I'll
you're
pass it
fine.
along.
We've solved everyone's problems twice.
Yep. Yep.
We've been going through. It's been fun.
How you doing, Tunji? We don't talk very much, but it's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, you too. I've been listening the House of Wu for a while.
Okay.
Maybe I was in the chat a couple of times, and maybe you have heard me before talking with Chad or others. Yeah.
Yes. Well, okay. Here's the formula. It's 100. Let's see here. Oh, that's for the massive. Okay, so the actual per dose is 1,000 milligrams of potassium citrate, 40 milligrams pink Himalayan salt, 60 milligrams, which you could pick any salt, doesn't matter. 60 milligrams chloride. That's part of the salt. So ignore that. 120 milligrams magnesium citrate and 75 milligrams calcium. And basically, I do half of that amount. So and that seems to work out pretty well. It didn't spike my potassium levels immediately. It took about a year for me to actually come back with a little high on potassium, and so I just cut it in half and then it brought it down. But it does help with sleep, and I don't have those heart palpitations anymore at night.
This is interesting. This actually ties into the conversation is when dealing with demonic or just stuff, always see if there's a biological root, because it might not be demonic. Like, are you sleeping right? Are you eating right? What kind of stressors are in your life? Because it's not always.
Test it. Test the spirits. Isn't that what the book says?
Well, and see if it's a spirit of nicotine or the spirit of I've had too many chocolate chip cookies last night and
dehydration. There seems to be a correlation between the demons in the desert and dehydration.
That means, are you saying that my cookies are possessed? You might be right. They have a hold on. Anyhow, yeah. But the eating right, because there's I saw a video with an exorcist, and they said they always do a physical inventory. Like they send people to a doctor to see if your blood, if you're out of whack somewhere, because you might not need an exorcist. You just might need a pill. That's
or
cool.
just or a little less, more sleep.
Yeah,
that's one of the things I was telling somebody else is, man, just get sleep. Make sure you get good sleep as best you can. I mean, sometimes it's impossible. That could be asking somebody. It's like, I mean, when you can't sleep, we all know we should be asleep, but we can't. So it's not very helpful to tell people you need to sleep.
Well,
but prioritize it as best you can.
What if in the past, if I would have gotten woken up by a demon or a mouse crossing the floor just because I sleep that light, I would have been up all night. But last night it was 3 a.m. and I got woke up and I'm like, I ain't doing this. I am staying in bed and I am going to look at the back of my eyelids and pray. Now, Lord, I always fall asleep when I'm praying, especially at night. So let's do it again and let's use it. And eventually I went back to sleep. I've developed a practice of staying in bed to God, not getting up and looking at the blackness in my eyes and going back to sleep. And getting an extra hour and a half sleep makes huge, whatever. It makes a big difference in my life. It's made a big difference. So anyhow, sleep, good for you.
The best thing about meditation, I'm sorry, let me just say this real quick. The best thing about meditation practice is learning the art of not having to take action on whatever's. You don't always have to act
Right.
It can be very useful to just sit and let the thing happen, whatever you think is happening or whatever thoughts going on in your mind, whatever feeling you're experiencing. You just let it. You can be
Right.
still and know that He is God.
Right. Is it?
That's
Would
Christian
it be?
meditation, in my opinion.
I like that. My question is the in the psychological world, what might they call that? Is that like calling?
Mindfulness. They're calling it mindfulness these days.
Well, and
Or they
I
call it they use sometimes DBT and all other they're co-opting a lot of this stuff and
well,
renaming it.
actually I'm trying to make it very practical. It's what it's when you're training yourself, almost like let's say in martial arts, you train certain moves and you practice, and then you get muscle memory, and you do it. And I wonder in letting thoughts come and go in and with Christ, you're actually doing that same thing. It's just internal. You're not desensitizing yourself to a trigger.
Mm-hmm.
You like you're teaching yourself restraint,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, self control. It's a
self-control.
fruit of the
Okay,
spirit.
I like that.
It's a fruit of
I
the spirit.
I
But there is the other aspect, though, is that if there is a demon in my house, I don't want a demon in my house. That I can be just unbothered by it, you know,
right.
by the visit in the night. I can be not afraid, but at the same time, I don't want it in my house. So I'm still going to cast them out.
Hmm. Yeah.
Uh,
With me.
so
Oh, sorry.
so it's not just about keeping my sleep. It's also about not having those visitation that are undesired.
I agree with
Just
you.
make a point. Just make the point.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh, there are times to act and not to act, right? I mean, it's
Sure.
what is it? Go right back to Ecclesiastes. A time for war and a time for peace.
When you said cast out the demon, and I agree with you, it was interesting last night for me to cast out the demon, or just was because I'd already dealt with it before. I'm like, no, I've already dealt with you. I don't.
Mhm.
It was like this. It was really like, no, we've had this conversation. We're gone. We're broke up, and
Yeah.
so it's very internal, nothing but my thoughts, and the intention is like, no, we're not talking, and then knowing my identity, that's what in Christ, being assured in it. And I think the best I can describe it, it was similar to like when Jesus said, "Get behind me, Satan," to Peter. You're not even casting it out. You're like, just you can just go. Hold on a second. What's up?
Yeah. I am with you actually, Ron. I have the same kind of feeling experience, but I was just making a point that you can also expand your circle of not no entering zone beyond your simply your own mind or your body, and make the point that you don't want to be interacting with unclean spirits anyway.
I was away
But
for a minute, so I missed the past couple minutes. I feel like I missed the best part.
but the what you were saying before, Mark, just before I forget, uh, yeah, I was praying with the Book of Revelation for a while as well. I love those prayers. I try to memorize it as well because there was that point in my life where the point of prayer was to worship God. So it was not just to repeating my request or even just or to feel in the presence of God, was to be worshiping Him and spend time in worship as best as I could. So those were very helpful biblical prayers. And now it's a little bit different. Now I spend more time actually petitioning spontaneously when it comes. And
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. What your prayer looks like these days?
yeah, these days is just more about be spontaneous and ask, and if I feel to ask for something, I just ask, and that's mostly what is for the time. I try to in this moment also maybe differently from Ron, and that connects also to the deliverance aspect of our spiritual practice. I try to do visible prayer. I like my prayer to be visible and not invisible.
You mean like conscious?
I like to not just subconscious. I want to be, if possible, to get on my knees and to pray out loud, and instead of just thinking or just be sitting. And that's you may take this as anecdotal. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's more than anecdotal. But I believe that spiritually speaking, in the spiritual warfare kind of aspects of it, a visible prayer is better than an invisible one. Even as a habit,
kind of like embodied.
I don't like this word embodied because it's a weird word that people say too much, and it's ending up meaning the opposite of what they want to say. So when I can do something that is not embodied, I will let you know. But for now, I will just say that it's visible. It's not secret in my mind. So if there is somebody else,
you're doing something.
If there is some
beyond just saying something.
No, I mean, if I pray, I try to pray out loud, and if I'm praying, I'm trying to pray on my knees instead of laying down, for instance, so that is visible what I am doing. Is not
yeah.
So yeah, I don't know if you understand what I mean.
Well, let me see, because I've noticed. So one prayer that I do every morning is that part in Exodus chapter 34 where God appears before Moses and he says, I'm compassionate, merciful, abounding in steadfast love, all those things. Then it says Moses immediately fell on his face and said, if I've found mercy, go with us. And then he says some other things. And then also in Revelation 7:12, it's an easy verse to remember. Those numbers are easy to remember. It says the elders fell on their face and worshipped and said, blessing and glory, and they say these things. It's like they fall on their face, and that both in Exodus and Revelation, it's like you have people doing that. Is that what you mean?
Yes. It's I think that is more than just the biblical reference. It's the normal maybe more or less universal posture of praying. If you that's the most proper position to have when you are.
And that's what I like about every
when you
year
want to talk with God.
When I go to Catholic Mass with my wife's family, they have the thing that you kneel on in the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
I like that. I wish that was in my church.
Yeah, it's supposed to be a normal thing. Maybe it gets a little bit less popular somewhere. I'm afraid. But it's a normal one-to-one correlation. Oh, you look at that person is praying over there. When you see somebody on his knees, he's praying, and maybe eyes closed. That's normal, and it creates. I don't know. I feel that also spiritually, you're going to be less bothered by unclean spirits if you pray that way than if you pray silently, because the spirit will see, this dude is always praying, because there is no idea that they're going to read your mind, and see what you're doing in your mind, but they see what and they hear what you say. So that's why normally, then if there is a normal procedure to cast out demon, you say it. You don't simply think a prayer to God to cast the spirit out, because that thing I need to hear it as well. So it's good not to be too silent, especially if we have the possibility in our house to do so. It's a good testimony also for those who live with us, that actually see, look, he's praying. He's not just doing something else all day.
And yeah, and I mean, if we are intended to be in the image of God, where the Spirit is going to dwell within us, then if we're in some posture that is aimed at the one true God, then other lesser gods are going to know it, like by our physical posture, I guess.
They do. They do.
So that's why when I, every morning when I do my sun salutations and do my yoga postures, I let all the demons in. I'm just kidding.
They see it. The demons see that you are doing yoga. If you do just yoga in your mind, it will be much harder for those spirits to know where to go. That's why it's for what is worth, it works. You're not just thinking about it.
I would say doing yoga in your mind is worse than doing yoga in your body, because you're not getting the physical benefit of the yoga in the postures. Is the physical stress of the body. Just call it something else. I mean,
kinesiology.
you standing a certain way for a certain number of seconds puts a certain level of stress on your muscles and skeletal structure that accrue, the benefits of which accrue over a period of time and physically strengthen you and make you more flexible and healthy.
And you just feel good after you stretch. It just feels good after.
I mean, if you're doing that in your mind, I'm not sure what you're doing for yourself, other than now you're really playing a mental game on yourself. I would be cautious of. I don't like playing mental games with myself.
Well, wasn't the stretching of yoga just to get your body relaxed so you could do yoga in your mind?
Exactly. Basically? Yes, it was. It was. Yeah, you're right. That's how I understand it. That's what was that. It was to train. It was like athletic training, so that you could be able to sit for long periods of time in meditation.
For a really long time in a cave.
For me, I think the word is kinesiology. Physical therapist. I used to do stretches because I hurt my back, and they changed. Oh, I tell you what, I need to actually do them because they changed my life in a good way. There was no faith involved. It was just hard, strenuous work to repair my body from muscles contracting and stuff like that.
Yeah, but if I want to be a little bit facetious, what's the word? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
A spirit can tell the difference. This guy is doing stretching.
Yeah.
Or this guy is doing the such and such pose of yoga. And those things, they mean different things. They don't mean the same things.
it's faith. It's your intention.
Yeah. Yeah, again, with what we said at the beginning, there is the intention and the purpose, but then it's not just a tool. The practice is not neutral.
Correct.
The millennial elaboration and the perfectioning of the meditation spiritual practice is not neutral. It has been made by somebody with a certain faith for the purpose of reinvigorating that certain faith. So even that's why that's another topic. That's why you cannot do yoga that is not a religious thing. You cannot.
Well, here's the thing.
That's not a thing.
I think, and I'm not so much pushing back. I'm defining maybe more so. There are many.
We lost Mark. I hope it wasn't me.
Nah, it'll be. He's fine. He's fine. For me, Mark, it's. I think the. What am I thinking and why?
Hey, Ron, I don't know if you. I'm getting some feedback. I think on your end.
On my end?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. Like when on from your output, there's like some serious echo going on or something. It's like a muffled sound. Just thought you want to know.
Wait a second. There is it a muffled feedback right now, Mark asked? No. Okay.
Sounds better.
Yeah, going back for me, Tunji, if I do this and go Omada Padme Om, I'm worshiping. If I do this, and all that, and I think a lot of people who do yoga, I hope the right word is kinesiology. It's physical therapy. It's really, that's it in a nutshell. I mean, and I know a lot of people who came out of it who absolutely, they're like, oh, don't do anything that looks like it. And I'm like, no, some of the, go.
Yeah, but that's the detail. The problem is not that it looks like it. It is what it is, not what it looks like. Because you get the difference there.
If I can split the hairs on it, if I can define what I'm saying, if I do this, and I'm pulling my hand, and there happens to be a yoga pose that's called, something, I think at times, like Upcycle says, the postures do represent things, but I think sometimes there's a similarity that a religious posture has that I'm doing that I have no religious intent, and I think would never allow a religious spirit to land, because I'm not doing it other than for my own physical well-being. And I guess what I'm getting at is I hate that something physically good like stretching has been boxed in with yoga. And so maybe it's almost, and you'll know how to say this, it's anytime you see someone stretch, it's like saying Kleenex. Kleenex is actually a brand of tissue. Not all tissues are Kleenex, but most tissues are called Kleenex because it's such a normal term to be used. And I think that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, I understand the point. And then yoga does not have the copyright on on the body position. I'm
Yeah,
sitting
yeah, yeah,
down. There is a sitting down position in yoga. I'm quite sure. I think,
Okay,
but
sure.
just because I'm sitting, I'm not doing yoga.
Yeah, that's.
But that's the problem. That what it looks, something looks like something is different than what I think is.
Uh-huh.
There is a delineation there.
Yeah.
I've done and continue to do a lot of stretching, and I go to physiotherapy and
Yeah.
all this stuff. But I'm not going to the yoga class that is by the same physiotherapy studio that are doing the yoga classes.
Yeah.
It's not trivial. It's not a line. It's not a line that is arbitrary. It's a line of things that are just two different things.
I
Just
agree.
because something look similar
Right.
doesn't mean that they're not two different things. So I'm all for stretching and exercise and physiotherapy.
Yeah.
And
But
I kind of wonder if some of these technology, like, because yoga is almost a physical technology. It can, kind of like, I never really got into the stretching of yoga, but I got really into the bodily exercise and then the mantra. But
Oh,
it
there's Mark.
does kind of make you feel better, right? So yoga can, the physical thing can make you feel better. So I'm trying to think of so like, dynamite was invented by the Chinese who were pagans, and that's like changed the world. So are we able to use and so yoga is almost a type of physical technology. It's almost like a bit of a science, even though I know what their intention
Right.
is to like clear your chakras, so kundalini can more easily like travel up your spine.
Now that one I would have that one I would do it like a
Right.
timeout on. I'm like,
Right,
whoa,
but
whoa,
my
whoa.
question is can Christians take some of these things and use them for good?
We have. Most of Christianity is based on a pagan application of Second Temple Judaism as reformed by Jesus Christ.
no.
The Trinity itself, you can't find the Trinity in the Old Testament.
That's
It
the
isn't
part
there.
when I start arguing with Mark people.
Welcome to the House of Blue, ladies and gentlemen.
It's SmackDown time.
I'm afraid.
Mark
Go
woke
ahead.
up swinging this morning.
I'm afraid that Tunji, you should come on. We should do a long form, maybe even a rando or something, where we do or just a discussion on this. I know it freaks a lot of the Christians out in the corner when I say things like that, and I apologize. And I apologize that I can't be here for like 3 hours to deal with it.
It's fun. It's like opening up a can of pop and just having to go.
Yeah.
All I'm saying is that if I'm still very Tibetan Buddhist, and everything in Tibetan practice centers around intention. Everything, and you concretize as little as you possibly can in your practice. That is, concretize in your mind as this is a real thing. This outside force that is freaking me out. Demon, politics, sexual attraction, attachments, aversions of one sort or another. If I make it a thing,
somebody needs to clip that right there. That was pretty good. Demons, politics.
It's all the bad stuff in life, all the crap that poisons human existence, right? If I make that something hard, something real, something really real that I have to oppose, I'm giving it energy. I'm giving it energy. Why do we think? Why do we see so many Christian pastors sink into sin?
No, wait a second.
Big sin.
No, wait a second. Now here's where I not push back, but I'll give you my conversation part. there are different operating procedures, spirits behind Tibetan Buddhism, yoga, and Christianity. There, there are three different spirits at at the root of them. And my hesitation now, when you and me talk, when we talk, I'm not freaked out by what you said. I'm like, we've developed a relationship, and I know you, and I know where it's coming from. It's not just here it is. But for someone who's watching, let's say who's coming out of New Age, and they were really steeped in it, I would be cautious.
I would say though they're the if anything, if anything I said triggers somebody in that's coming out of that,
Yeah.
is one, they were probably taught poorly in some of these practices. So they don't have a very good
Well, let's say it's
understanding of
shamanism.
it.
Let's say it's shamanism or something. Like
Well, that's a whole different category. Now, the Tibetans they had no problem. They took they took late Indo Buddhism, Indian Buddhism, to the nth degree, and then when it left, basically it got ran out by a revival of local religion in India, traditional Hinduism, and the Muslim invasion. So by the Muslim, I think it's probably more the Muslim. We don't really know, but the Muslim invasion probably is what drove out Buddhism ultimately, because Buddhism freaks everybody out, and it because it's non-theistic.
Well,
That
and-
non-theism blows the mind of the Muslim, and it blows the mind of the Christian. The Jews seem to have, if you listen to the Hezi, it sounds like it doesn't bother him so much. Well,
No,
Buddhism bothers him. Hinduism doesn't bother him. But Buddhism freaks a lot of people out. But all I'm saying is
Yeah.
my only point, and I just wanted to hop on really quick because I now have to go and deal with my mom.
Oh.
The intention. Our Lord is meek. See, the thing is Jesus does not need your adoration. What does he tell the disciples? They're all getting all freaked out. They're going to start worshiping. Get up. There's one God. Don't call me. Don't
there are
call
some
me.
people
Even says, "Don't call." Who are you calling good? You don't have.
He let people worship him.
He did.
Yeah, I never said to anybody get up, Jesus, when they were worshiping it.
Oh, double check. Double check.
Yeah, but the point is this, Mark. You say something that is not that because people are offended by some different theology. Is that okay? The Second Temple Jews were pagan. That's.
No, I didn't say they were
And
pagan.
then, yeah, you said that was an evolution from paganism, where the Christian came from.
They
And,
came together. They merged at some point, and there was a. You could argue Christianity was both a reformation of Judaism, of Second Temple Judaism, and a reformation of paganism. The cultures collided.
Yeah, but that's historically false. So you cannot just say that and do not expect pushback, because it is historically and all the rest false. And
how do you
false.
you don't you? How is it false? Mm-hmm. How is it false?
You have to prove all there are all the particulars that you.
Okay, well, Judaism it doesn't contain the doctrine of the Trinity.
False.
Where do you see it? Why do you find so many the Jews? It was a break between the Jews and the Christians, particularly on that subject. We're considered pagans by the Jews just because we believe in the Trinity. We don't even considered Nicene Christians. That. Okay, so who's probably closer to Second Temple Judaism, Christians or modern rabbinic Jews?
I don't know. I don't care much about Second Temple Judaism. The point is that the division between Christianity and Judaism is on the ground of the claim that Christians understand Judaism better than the other one that kept just.
Well, the problem is we
Testament.
Used to
That's
think
the whole claim. So I'm not granting to the follower of rabbinical Judaism the ground that they understand Judaism better. Because the whole point of Christianity is that through Christ and the apostles, we have a better and the perfect, not just a better, the fulfilled understanding of the Hebrew Bible. So that's the whole point. So I have to affirm that yeah, there is a discontinuity, but the discontinuity is not of content between Second Temple and then Christianity coming later. The discontinuity is amongst those who believed and accepted the message of Christ, that was the fulfillment of the law, and those who did not believe it. That's the whole. That's the whole point.
The idea, it was common amongst Christians across denominations and traditions, that true Israel was the church, the Christian church. Problem is, you have to figure out which church and which Christianity. But amongst Nicene Christians,
My church.
exactly, amongst Nicene Christians, or Christians that adhered roughly to the Nicene Creed, it was commonly believed for most of history, the last 2,000 years, that they were true Israel, and the Jews were false Israel, modern rabbinic Jews. Of course, that argument all went down the toilet with the Holocaust, and I think we can put that one to bed. Christians demonstrated themselves to be absolutely and totally not true Israel. The question is, how do we pick up the pieces from that? And how do we repent of that, of the sin of anti-Semitism that goes right back down to the church fathers? Another can of worms, another shaken can of soda I just popped. I'm sorry, Ron.
Yeah, but
But that is reality. The Holocaust
Yeah,
rewrites
but-
everything. I think it is a grand. It is Jesus is a fulcrum in history, and I would say in the history of Christianity, the second great fulcrum, apart from the resurrection itself, is the Holocaust, and we've yet to figure out how to deal with it. Because it completely upends the idea that we have the perfect revelation. I
hate to throw
There is no
a
connection
wrench.
with what you are saying and what you are implying. You know, that I understand that you are presenting. Oh, look how difficult are those issues. Oh, look how the church historically has struggled navigating this issue. But then your conclusion, whatever it is, does not follow from that argument. That is not an argument, Mark. Sorry, but you're
my
just
case
saying
is-
that there are difficult things to
it's
to navigate
humility.
it.
My argument is
And
humility. That's all.
Humility to what? To
That
say,
we don't
to
know
express
everything.
which position. Yeah, but you are claiming that there are something that everybody has gotten wrong, and you are pointing to some human failure and some
Oh, no, I'd say
catastrophic
it's more than a human failure. I'd say it's a failure of it is a failure of this thing we call Christianity, which is pretty complex, and Christian culture, and it could easily
but
tie into some
again-
of the Paul Kingsnorth stuff too.
You are by saying that there is a failure of this thing called Christianity, you are presuming that you have a definition of it, but you are not giving me a definition of it. You are just telling me that there are these terrible failures here and there historically that
To say
deny
that say
what's
that there's a
supposedly
failure would have to say
there is
that
supposed to be
there's
an
a
ideal
correct-
then if there is some failure.
What's the correct?
But-
what's the unfailure?
Yeah.
So to which standard are you judging this Christianity? Because
It by itself. The standard is
Yeah.
the standard that
Yeah.
it's holding itself up to. It's saying it is true Israel. It is if
yeah.
it's true Israel, it would not have true Israel. See, if you
But the
have
original true Israel was extremely flawed. You know, before Christianity, it was always getting in trouble and always making mistakes.
all right, guys, I'm sorry. I have to create a mess and leave it for you to clean up.
That's all right.
Okay.
Mark, Hey, listen.
love you, man.
be blessed. I pray for your mom peace and actually, I'm not kidding you. Lord, we pray for Mark's mom, peace and wholeness. Lord, that, and we pray for Mark as well.
It sounds like she's doing. Thank you, Ron. Amen. Thank you for that. I think it sound. I was talking to people when I clicked off. She's doing a little better this morning, so I now got to get myself together to go and
Okay.
check her out. But yeah, I'll leave it. I'll leave you guys to the last
We'll come
word,
back. We'll be
and
part
we'll
two.
get back to it sometime.
We'll get back. All right.
All right, Tunji, Mark, Ron, thank you guys.
Peace.
All right. We'll see you. All right.
It's
Lord.
getting a little fun there. I'm glad it's over. I don't.
Yeah, sorry.
No.
The paganism
good.
stuff was a little bit much.
Well, yeah. I mean, I knew what was coming. I'm like, all right, you guys are who you are. I wouldn't expect anything else.
You already labeled me as fundamentalist, so
He has.
yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well,
So
here's the thing, and that would make me a fundamentalist as well. Then, but is that wrong? I don't know about labels. So
depends on the fundamentals. That's the
Yeah.
I don't
Anybody
know what
who
it-
has like a strict belief that you don't have is a fundamentalist. But then
What's that?
But like anybody who has like a belief that you don't have is a fundamentalist.
Oh, that everyone else is wrong and I'm right. That's a fun.
You could almost say that like social justice people are fundamentalists. You must be
Oh.
accepting of all, you must have these diversity quotas you must meet or you can't do business. Like that's fundamentalism. I think fundamentalism is like you must worship in this exact certain way or you're going to hell. That's fundamentalism. Yeah.
well, it's another word that doesn't mean much anymore this day and age. It's more kind of a derogatory to stop listening to some people. But the point is that Mark also makes is that even if you are agnostic or skeptic or as they like to say, humble about your conviction, you still believe that what you think is true.
Right.
Nobody thinks what he thinks is false.
Correct.
Everybody thinks that what he thinks is reasonable and true, even if it is uncertainty, skepticism. So that's why people who preach uncertainty, skepticism, they preach it to others as if this is the truth. You have to be uncertain. So
okay.
there is no way out. There is no you're not going to meet somebody who thinks that his own ideas are false.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a trick that we have to overcome in when we come to discussion and comparing our ideas.
Yeah. I don't, especially in the corner, you have some people who have a variety of ideas mixed together, and some of them when you and Mark get together, I would not expect anything less. It's going to happen. It's inevitable. And but I guess I'm like, now that I'm there, it helps me at least dialogue and learn to, all right, we got tension here. Not bad, but learning how to dialogue in, just to experience it. It's not my norm. It's not normal. And so,
go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm listening.
For me, like one of the things about the corner is, growing up, I did grow up in a fundamentalist church. And, there was all these questions about fellowship and communion and, very, pretty strict, pretty sharp lines.
Right.
And so those things kind of still mess with me. I think there's something to it, though I don't think it's as black and white as I was taught. However, in the corner, I can kind of communicate and have acquaintance with people who maybe, who knows, maybe I shouldn't have communion with.
Mhm.
And I I actually appreciate that. You know what I mean? 'Cause I'm not, am I fellowshipping with people? Well, maybe, maybe not. If I am, is talking to somebody on the internet count as fellowship? You know, I don't know.
It's
I
it's
think it just counts as
communication.
just communication, yeah.
Um,
And that's good because I can't live in a place where I know all the sharp lines of
okay,
reality.
okay, and I think, and this is not a pushback, but this is when I see Tunji and Mark, I know what to expect on each camp, relatively. And that's not bad. Um, and with Mark, because I've talked with him a lot, and I know he has landed on Christ squarely. And he has had a profound healing. And Mark even says, by his own words, I should be dead or living underneath a bridge. And so when someone like Mark says what he says about yoga or whatever, I'm like, well, okay, I might not agree with everything he's saying. However, he's square on Christ. He's on Team Jesus. And I don't agree with everything he says, but I know that he's there, and the way he got here is amazing. And it is maybe a process. Like when he says what worked for him, it's confusing to me. But I've heard enough testimonies where I'm. It's not like I like the confusing, but I'm realizing there is a testimony of people that is kind of weird for me, that they're walking something out a little differently that I don't totally agree with. However, I know their end game is squarely on Jesus. And as he washes them down, so to speak, with that hose in time, I need to just say that's where they're at. Let me appreciate how they got here. And then I don't know if that's called sanctification. Like either help me in their process or help me stay and leave them alone, not get slimed to myself, and figure out. And to your point, Mark, and I'm not saying this, Tunji, in like all roads lead to Rome, but I'm like, okay, let me listen and try to understand, because something positive has happened to Mark. There's no getting around that. And so maybe, the easy cop out would be, well, yeah, that's where he's at in his sanctification process. And he just doesn't know it as well as I do, or the standard line goes. And I don't know if that's a good answer or not. I don't know. That's really
It's a good answer.
okay.
It's a good answer, Ron.
Well, yeah, it's a kind of a tough thing. You know, somebody says like, well, Christianity came out of Judaism and paganism. It's like, all right, well,
I want to
first,
clip
I
that
don't,
part. Like when I saw Tunji and I looked at each other, and I'm like, "Oh, it's came on." I'm like,
yeah,
"Oh
I
well."
had to make a decision. Am I going to argue this or am I not? And it's like, no. Like personally, like Mark, yeah, there's a ton of things I don't agree with him about, but he has been a really good friend, and I've told him my basic beliefs, and I'm not, I'm not going to push it. And so,
Yeah.
but and some, I think he's just trying to be edgy a little bit too,
No. I think
But-
honestly, Mark is, because he's watching. On it, Mark is honest. I think he's never
and
tr-
and
he's never.
I think that's an interesting idea of, did Christianity come out of paganism? Because no, of course Christianity has nothing to do with paganism, but on the other hand, it's like most of the Christians were former pagans throughout history. And so there is,
Right.
so it's like Christianity acknowledges paganism as a thing.
Right.
The sons of God, Jesus, there are the sons of God who are like these divine beings, angels or demons or something like that. But then Jesus was the Son of God. So it's like, because one
Right.
thing I've noticed since I've been like getting back into the scriptures, especially like reading the Gospels a lot and listening to them on audiobook like every day, is that throughout the Gospels there's a lot of pagan themes. And I'll give you an example. Is like in the book of Mark where it's when Jesus says, "Go to the other side, and I'll meet you over there." And so the disciples are going, and then it says at 3 a.m. they saw what they thought was a ghost walking on the water. So it's
Right.
like in paganism, in magic, and all in divination, 3 a.m. is known to be the witching hour when the spirits are most available to cross the veil into the physical world, right? And so it's like they used that time of them seeing a ghost at 3 a.m. to show that like Jesus is actually the Lord of all that stuff. Like there is spirits and there is gods, but Jesus is the greatest, you know. And there's kind of different or like, you know, in Luke when the wise men follow the star, it's like, oh, there is something to astrology, but Jesus is the fulfillment of that, and you don't even need it anymore, you know. And so it's like there's like an acknowledgement of paganism, and or you know, of course, it gets talked about the, you know, Caesar being a god, you know, the god emperor, the god king, and it's like Jesus comes and he is actually the real god king forever. And so it's like it's almost like paganism was almost a prophecy of certain Christianity in a way. And so I don't know. Am I getting anywhere with you here?
Yeah, I would put it, that Christians came out of paganism, not Christianity, but Christians certainly played here. We came out from any sort of false religion. Yeah.
Fellas.
Yeah, I don't think Christianity came out of paganism at all.
Oh.
Yeah. I say Christians, not Christianity.
Right. Right.
Yeah, that's the point.
Gentlemen, we have been going for about 2 hours and 30 minutes, and I feel the need to go get some Chinese food.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's been fun. Yeah, no, I'm glad you
Absolutely.
showed up, Tunji. And Mark,
Thank
if you're out there, love you. It just
Yeah.
Yes.
so.
You too, man.
Uh,
We all.
all right, guys. Peace. Go to church. Give your heart to Jesus. Otherwise, you're going to no. Jeez, wow, what an ending. All right, bye. What am I doing? What am I doing? Stop.